How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, "Happy Friday!" Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
In the dry states of the Southwest, there's a group that's been denied a basic human right.
In the Navajo Nation today, a third of our households don't have running water.
But that's not something they chose for themselves. Can the Navajo people reclaim their right to water and contend with the government's legacy of control and neglect?
Our water, our future, our water, our future.
That's in the next season of Reclaimed, the lifeblood of Navajo Nation. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
A nationwide trend that's stirring up a lot of controversy.
We together decided that we did not want to have children.
What's the main reason you don't want to have a child?
I want to live my life the way I want to.
To breed or not to breed? That's the question.
The population is declining.
Social responsibility is a reason to have children.
No, it's not. You don't do it based on some statistical model. That's insane. I know things and you're wrong. Well, tonight we're talking about a nationwide trend that's stirring up a lot of controversy lately. The active and conscious choice not to have children. Ever. In fact, many millennials and Gen Z are deliberately passing on parenthood and proud of it. Why? Because they say they don't want the responsibility. They want to travel and be able to focus on career. To put it simply, they just don't want to.
We're dinks. We go on 10 vacations a year.
We're dinks. We spend our disposable income on fun stuff, like boats.
We're married with no kids. We can listen to music that we want to, instead of Coco Melon.
We're married with no kids. We can sleep through the night.
Something I cannot get over is the way that people try to convince women who are child-free by choice that they actually want kids. They'll say things like, "Oh, no, you say that now, but you'll see." Doctors will even say, "No, ma'am, I can't tie your tubes. You're too young. You're gonna change your mind." As if women don't know what they want for themselves.
People have always been up in arms about whether or not the decision that I have made not to have children is a selfish one. But here's the thing, I do believe that I have made a selfish choice, and I love my selfish life, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
But there are people out there who say that people who choose to be child-free are selfish and will regret their decision when they're old and alone. So, to breed or not to breed? That's the question we're asking tonight. Amy, a sociologist and author who has studied the child-free movement, says that when she finally told her husband, Lance, she didn't want children, he was relieved.
We have been married for almost 30 years, and we assumed when we got married that we would have kids one day, that at some point I would probably feel something magic inside me. People talk about this maternal instinct. Never happened for me.
People spend more time thinking about getting a cat than they do about having children because it's just so baked into what we are expected to do.
It takes a village to raise a child, and child-free people are important parts of that village. They serve as mentors to children, and it goes as evidence against the myth that child-free people all hate children. The idea of womanhood is so intertwined with motherhood that it's almost impossible to disentangle them. Like, are you a real woman if you're not a mother? From the moment we're born, it is our destiny to become parents. And girls learn this by being given baby dolls when they're little. They learn how to become nurturers. Men face the reality of not carrying on the family name and the pressure from their families to do that.
Even if I did wake up one morning and regretted not having children, I would rather bear that regret for myself than to have children and wake up one morning and regret it. Because I don't think Somebody who's living with regret for having children is going to be the best caretaker for those children.
You say there's a difference between being child-free and childless.
I do, yes.
And what's the difference to y'all?
That distinction is really important to me because I study people who have made the intentional choice not to have kids. And we share the circumstance of being non-parents with people who I use the term childless to refer to. In the case of childless people, I'm talking about non-parents due to infertility, or they may not have found a partner that they wish to parent with and don't want to be single parents. So it's an important distinction because in one case, a person is living the life that they've chosen for themselves, and in another case, they're not. They wish to be a parent, but they're not.
Yeah. And you agree with this, to be child-free?
Yes, yeah. I don't think I started out thinking that I would be child-free, but I think it was something that over years of thought and, decision-making that we together decided that we did not want to have children. If
you had been married to somebody else that wanted to have children, do you think you would have been okay with that?
Yes. I think I started out from the perspective of I would, because it's kind of a default social thing that you are raised as. But even kind of after I had reached the point where I felt that I could have a very fulfilling life without children, I was still open to the option if Amy wanted them.
What are the odds of two people coming together that are okay with being child-free?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will say that I think Lance and I got lucky. I mean, we were high school sweethearts and we married very young. I was 22 and he was 23. And as we've shared, we both thought that we would have kids one day, and we ended up landing in the same place independently and then together.
I think we could have been completely happy as parents. I think it's just a choice that we made.
You say it comes with a stigma.
Yes, I think, there's a range. There's the, I never thought about that before. And then there's, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You're an alien, or you're a terrible person. We're socialized to believe that, especially for women, that's the natural thing for a woman. And we don't think about the progression of a woman's life course, not including motherhood.
Yeah. Well, being a sociologist, you understand about cognitive dissonance. So flip the script and give me your best argument for having children.
Oh, no one has ever asked me that before, Dr. Phil. That's a great... Well, what I've been told is that it is the most rewarding thing that a person can do with their lives. If that's true for people, then that's wonderful.
I think the best reason to have children is because you really want them.
Yeah, why do you think people would want them?
I have a lot of snide reasons. I think that some people want them because they want to create their own friend. And they don't, again, it's just something that they've been told that they should do.
Can I tell you what the research says about why people say they want them?
Sure.
So both parents and non-parents give as reasons relational intimacy, a desire for relational intimacy. So in the case of parents, they talk about an imagined relationship with a child. Non-parents talk about the importance of the relationship they have with their spouse or partner and friends and family, and not wanting to interrupt those relationships. And both non-parents and parents talk about the good of humanity and the future of the world and a concern about those things. In reality, our reasons are very, very similar. you look skeptical.
No, I'm just surprised because I have no stigma about it whatsoever. I think some people should not have kids for sure.
Yeah.
But I think people have made you guys really defensive about it.
Well, now I'm getting defensive. I was about to say I'm not defensive, and that sounds very defensive of me.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought, particularly when I put it in the frame of cognitive dissonance, that rather than setting up a paper tiger, you would have made a convincing argument for having children because you would have insight as to why people have children.
Yeah.
and not be threatened by making that good argument for having children instead of hiding behind an academic argument about it.
Yeah.
All right, next, we're going to add a mother to the conversation who says the DINK, dual income, no kids phenomenon is materialistic and selfish. We'll meet her after the break. Every notification on your phone announces another wave, a hurricane threatening lives, an East Coast labor strike threatening our supply chain, an international conflict threatening our peace, or an assassination attempt threatening our democracy. Supply chains for medications can be unreliable, but there's a way to feel safer in this uncertain world. Please research how to get your own supply of medications in case of a small or more significant emergency. I urge you to invest in a JACE case today. It's an emergency medication kit containing life-saving antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You'll fill out a simple online evaluation and customize your case to include add-ons like ivermectin, EpiPens, and more. The time to prepare is right now. Mention my name and you can receive a discount on your JACE case. Just go to jace.com and enter promo PHIL at checkout. That's promo code PHIL at jace.com. Get the right meds the moment you need them. Sleep is the foundation of whole body health. When we sleep well, our minds and our bodies perform at their best. That's why we're so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy, hot cocoa for sleep for the better. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend like reishi, magnesium, melatonin, and more to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Right now, Beam is offering my listeners early access to their Black Friday sale. Dream has been a game changer for me. This is your chance to try it for the lowest cost it's ever been sold at. Get up to 50% off when you visit shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil. Head over to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil and get yours before they sell out. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 50% off. Well, I'm here with Amy and Lance, a couple who say they made the choice never to have children despite family and societal pressure. Now, Scarlett, a mother of 5, says the child-free mentality is anti-family and anti-human.
Being a mother is the greatest thing that I will ever do. At the end of the day, no one says, boy, I wish I would have worked more, or boy, I wish I would have spent more time traveling alone instead of, having a family. Videos on TikTok or social media where you see women saying, I never want to have children. I think that they are victims of a nihilistic culture and messaging that is dangerous and wrong. When I initially heard of the DINK trend, I laughed it off, but I really don't like this overall anti-human message that reproducing is bad and that the world would be a better place if there were less humans. I mean, that's the language of a tyrant. And whenever you hear language like that, usually there's catastrophe to follow.
You have pretty strong feelings about this.
I do. It's a very interesting trend that I feel could be very dangerous. This sort of trend that's basically, I think, enticing and trying to reach young children. Like I have 4 young daughters, and to tell them that being a mother doesn't matter, it's not important. Instead, focus on yourself. Just only think of your hedonistic, immediate desires. And I think that there's just a devaluing of motherhood, of parenthood. It can be dangerous for our culture. I mean,
you say that you think about your purpose in life and what stands out about everything else is your children.
yes, it's everything.
But you judge people who don't feel that way.
I judge people that go on social media and make statements that are so nihilistic.
You made some very bold statements. You said it's the most rewarding, challenging experience a woman can have, and you have yet to meet a woman who believes that they would rather have a dog than a baby.
Yes, I've never met anyone who said that.
And I can introduce you to a few million, and you say, I don't judge people, but then you give me like 5 pages of judging people because they don't agree with your position?
Raising children, bringing them into society, as a family, we shoulder a great burden. Our children shoulder a great burden to humanity. It's more than just, there's an instinct in us to reproduce for a reason. I mean, when you look at the Wall Street Journal headlines, depopulation is an actual impending crisis. And I am concerned.
Do you think people should have children to save the world?
No, I don't think the messaging should be from our kind of cultural message is consume, prioritize yourself. You don't have children, but buy a bigger house. Go on shopping trips to Costco, but you don't have children. Just consume. And I do judge that message that only think of yourself, only consume, and don't think about your future. And
do y'all think you're materialistic and selfish?
I confess I can be selfish and materialistic, but do I think that I am at my core like that? No.
Well, yeah. Well, clearly something's going on, right? You're a sociologist.
Yeah.
Look at what's happening across the world, South Korea, in Europe, in America. I mean, the birth rate is dropping.
Right.
Having children is wonderful. Yeah, it's hard, but it will bring you inexplicable joy. And the lessons that I've learned something about myself in having children. It's everything.
That's great for you.
I think there's a severe lack of imagination that you can't think that other people could be just as happy not having kids as you are having kids. And for me, I've done a lot of work in my life developing introspection about myself. I don't feel that I had to have a kid to do that. If I can look at how I was raised as a child, I can look at how other people are raising children, and I just decided I didn't need to have them. And I don't think we're any more materialistic than many of the people who are parents around us. And so I don't feel like that's a relevant basis for having or not having children. Children will force me to be less materialistic is not an argument. I think you should just, if you want to be less materialistic, be less materialistic.
Well, no, that's not the argument.
Well, you said, and I quote, "I do not judge other women's decision to not have kids." I thought my iPad was going to explode when I read that after everything you said.
I think mother has been devalued to the point where it's like, well, why would I want to do that? That doesn't seem like much fun, and that would be a lot of sacrifice, and that would mean that I would have to give something up. I think a lot of people that say, oh, I don't want to have children, they don't know what they're missing.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Next. A woman who says that she thinks being pregnant is gross and she's happy with her cat. Emily is a sex educator who says people who choose not to have kids think about their decision a lot harder than those who choose to.
I grew up under the assumption that man, woman, have baby, white picket fence, and that was the expectation. But as I grew older, I started to realize that I really didn't want those things. I've never felt called to be a mother. I don't want to live my life based on biology. I have career aspirations and I have passions and I'm fulfilled in that way. And I don't feel like I'm lacking anything in my life because I don't have a kid. I think having kids would bring more anxiety and unhappiness to me because I really don't want them. I don't believe that men and women are always happy in their marriage with kids. A lot of people want a mini me. People don't think critically about the cost of kids, not only financial, but time. A lot of people are trying to heal their inner child. Even if somebody paid me $1 million, I don't want to be pregnant. I think it's an icky feeling. I know people love it. It grosses me out, the thought of being pregnant and having something growing inside of me.
When did you realize that you just really didn't want to have children even for $1 million?
Mid-20s, I would say. I'm 31 now.
And you say people that make the decision not to put a lot more thought into it than people who do, because people that do, a lot of times it isn't even planned.
Well, it's not even that. I think a lot of people don't know that it's an option. And so a lot of people grow up just kind of...
It's the next thing.
Right, next thing, like, okay, engaged, married, house, kid. And I think they're not very thoughtful in that decision. Like, sure, you might really want to be a parent, but can you be a good one? I've had friends even tell me they're pregnant, and they're like, how am I going to afford this kid's soccer practices? And I'm like, well, that probably would have been a better thought before you had the baby kind of thing.
Yeah. People have children for the wrong reasons a lot. To create a person who has to love you because it was expected by family or society. You want someone to take care of you in your old age. A child shouldn't be born with a job.
Right.
To have an accessory to show off. Oh boy, does that happen a lot. To fix your broken marriage because you're lonely and need a friend. To trap someone into marrying you. To reach a statistical quota, trying to create a mini-me. These are all bad reasons to have a child. The problem with these reasons is they're like puppies. They're cute and then they grow up and they have a lot of problems when they grow up.
And they're not guaranteed to like you either.
That's guaranteed for a period of time. 14 to 16, you're going to be an idiot.
It's a stage that passes, though. They're not going to like you too much, but they love you and you love them. It is sad that there are children born for the wrong reasons, but at the same time, I'm still pro-human, and I think it's a good thing.
I believe everything that you've said, and I am definitely not anti-human.
Yeah, there are those that say we should stop procreating and just let the human race disappear.
Right, and that is not...
Where do you come down on that?
I think people should do what they want. I wish people thought more critically about having kids, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for the world. I think less kids might be good for a period of time because of the climate and all of the resources and things like that. And to your point, we live in a capitalist society and culture, and people are consuming a lot. So I think a less populative state could be a good thing, but I think people should do what they want to do.
Think you'll ever change your mind?
No. Absolutely not. I want to live my life the way I want to. I'm an only child, and I do think that hyper-independence in me probably is part of that reason. I'm used to having things my way, and I want to, wake up early, do what I wanted. I don't want to have to accommodate a small child, and ultimately, I just really don't want them, and I don't think that's a safe environment for a kid to be in. I don't want to resent someone that I brought into this world.
What are we going to do in 20 years as the population ages and there's so few children being
A lot of the
born?
demographic issues are also in very specific countries. So
Western countries,
yeah. Right? African countries, South American countries, I still have
industrialized countries.
Correct. So there are plenty of people on the planet.
Next, a man who says if people who choose not to have children think partying and trying to be hip and sexy will give them meaning in their elder years, they're sorely mistaken. We'll meet him after the break. Christmas is the perfect time to share the gift of comfort and luxury with your loved ones. Cozy Earth makes it easy with their bamboo sheet set, a true holiday favorite. These sheets are ultra soft, breathable, and guaranteed not to pill for 10 years, ensuring restful nights and serene escapes every day. Cozy Earth's stretch knit bamboo pajama sets for men and women are another can't miss gift this season. They're perfect for unwinding at home, offering unmatched comfort and style for those treasured moments of relaxation. Now, Cozy Earth is all about transforming your space into a sanctuary of tranquility. They're responsibly made, temperature-regulating, durable fabrics, and they make every product a thoughtful investment in comfort. Order by December 13 for free shipping or by December 20 with expedited delivery. Head to cozyearth.com/Phil and use code Phil for up to 40% off. Give the gift of luxury this holiday season.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
I love having a schedule that I can do what I want to. I'm very much an early riser, like 5 a.m. workout, want to watch the sunrise and drink my coffee in peace. I don't want to be disrupted by little kids or little feet at my bedside asking me what's for breakfast or whatever.
Father of four Shane says his generation and Gen Z are seeking purpose in materialism, casual sex, travel, and careers, yet They wonder why rates of loneliness, depression, and self-harm are skyrocketing.
I think that the proudly child-free by choice are proudly selfish by choice. I think they're openly telling the world that they matter more than other people, and I don't think it's going to lead to happiness or fulfillment for them. It's very hard to grow up unless you have children. And the reason is because it immediately teaches you that someone in the world is more important than you are. So in order to hold a population steady, every woman on average needs to have 2.1 children. Well, it turns out the entire industrialized world now is falling well below that. My generation, especially millennials, they're terrified of this idea of getting married and starting a family. I think it's a desperately mistaken and destructive attitude that's going to leave a lot of people very lonely and very sad, and ultimately will cost us our viability as a society. My choice to have 4 children, for instance, has contributed in some small way to the long-term viability of our social safety net, the social security system, because they will be paying into it when those who did not have kids are receiving benefits. So sometimes you'll hear that, well, it's easy for you to say all this as a man, but women are a different matter. If your issue is just with the fact that women get pregnant and have babies, then I guess take it up with God. Take it up with nature, or whatever it is you think created human beings, because that's the way the world is.
So Shane, you have 4.
Sure do.
And you think people should have at least 2 kids.
Yeah, I think that there's a statistical range that's a reasonable target, and obviously it's going to be different from family to family, but 2.1 is about the range that demographers tell us is replacement rate, meaning you got to have about that many.
Are you really planning your families out based on demographers?
No, it's a viable concern. See, the conversation behind the conversation
It's a viable concern from an epidemiological standpoint, but you don't make your family up based on that.
Partly social responsibility is a reason to have children.
No, it's not.
Why do you say that?
Because that's not why you have children. You don't make your decisions on your family bond and dynamic based on some statistic that can change across time. You do it based on what your plan is with your partner and what feels right for you. You don't do it based on some statistical model. That's insane.
What shapes what feels good to you and your partner? Could there be a cultural shaping influence?
No.
No?
Mm-hmm. Hell no.
You don't think so?
I know.
So Dr. Phil, you don't think.
I know things and you're wrong.
You don't. The point I'm trying to get to, though, is that there's a reason behind what seems good. There's a reason behind the consciousness that we have, and it's the messages that are being propagated constantly. The reason that we have a different fertility rate in the United States to, let's say, a pre-developed country in Africa, right, is partly because of the social expectations and the system of cultural desires that are inculcated in people by their surroundings. We're not creatures that come up with our beliefs out of thin air, like some kind of, enlightenment thinker in their bathtub.
It's because we have birth control.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it. I agree with you.
I have to disagree. The reasons we have the low birth rates that we have in our nation and in other Western nations is because we have higher education rates for women. We have better health care, access to health care for women. We have access to birth control for women.
So women in Nigeria have more children because they're stupid?
No, I didn't.
There's a difference between stupid and educated.
And access to health care.
Because they're uneducated.
No,
Is that what you're
I didn't. No,
the desire to have many children could only be because you're uneducated.
No, I said health care.
Now, are you trying to win an argument or are you trying to solve a problem?
I think the winning of the argument contributes to the solving of the problem.
What does health care and birth control have to do with a person's intellect?
Birth control shapes our consciousness. And what I mean by that is it's something that caused us to think about our bodies differently. So before the pill, broadly speaking, sex meant the high possibility of babies. After the pill, we all become consumerist about babies. We begin to believe that this is a choice. It's a thing that we do, just like buying a pair of shoes or buying a car or buying a boat or something. This is actually extraordinarily weird historically.
You understand we've been controlling birth since before the pill.
Oh, there have been methods, but the reason the pill took off was because it was the most effective method ever invented, right?
Well, not anymore, but at the time, yes, it was the most effective.
Yeah. What's most effective now?
Sterilization.
Okay, so like breaking your body, like cutting tubes and things is the most effective.
I mean, I wouldn't agree that that's breaking your body, but...
Why not?
Because I don't agree that that's
No,
breaking
you've
your
got
body.
you've got a system of organs. It's meant to do a certain thing, right? It has a biological purpose. And you're going to cut pieces of it off. And I mean, literally speaking, mutilated. What else do you call that?
I call it surgery.
Okay. What other surgery, in what other surgery do we break a healthy system?
I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going to run through the various surgeries with you because I'm not able to. I don't know what your credentials are. You can tell me if you want, but...
You're happy with 4 children.
Oh, it's the best part of life for me.
Are you going to have more?
I don't know. We may. I'm not the one who actually decides in a like a voluntaristic way to. What that means is like, I go into it and I say, okay, it's time for kids now. I think kids are something that actually come to you often unexpected. That's part of what a gift is.
When we come back, a man with 7 children, and he hopes his will be assets for him in his retirement.
I have a cat. Her name is Celine, and I'm perfectly happy with her in my life.
A lot of people who have a natural inbuilt need to nurture something, using dogs and cats as a surrogate to nurture. So they're pushing them around in strollers, they're buying baby carriages for them.
I feel really insulted when people tell me that my cat is just because I want to have a baby. It's a cat. People have pets.
You're a human. You are meant to have relationships with other humans, not with fur babies as replacements.
Well, Terry, a father of 7, says people have the rest of their lives to pursue careers, travel, hobbies, after they have children.
I think the reason that my wife and I really embraced having a big family of our own is because we both came from big families and we both benefited from it from a mental and psychological standpoint. The main problem that I have with the childless by choice movement is that it's a bit antagonistic towards those of us that have chosen to have families and to have children. They're not challenging themselves. They are becoming weak. They are becoming complacent. And children help challenge you and form you in ways that I can personally attest are next level. There's a lot of research that shows that people that had children and had families have more meaningful lives. They've actually had studies that show that Alzheimer's and dementia start to recede when grandparents are surrounded by their grandchildren. You're being lied to. You're being misled. Don't buy the lies. Get married, have babies, and protect those kids and serve them.
7 children.
7.
When you have 7 children, you have to play zone defense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? What kind of future do you think dinks and child-free people are in for?
Well, it'll be full of material goods. It'll be full of fun times. But I don't think it'll be joyful, right? And I think that there's a distinction between being happy and being joyful. And I think that happiness is really a counterfeit version of joy. Joy is deeper. You know, when I was 11 years old, I got a Nintendo 64, and I was very happy, but I wasn't filled with joy over it. But the rewards that you get from having children and having a family, you know, we just had number 7, and when you see the other 6 children hold that baby and kiss that baby and take care of that baby and participate in their family and give of themselves and sacrifice, it's one of the most beautiful and rewarding things you can experience.
And are you going to have more?
Only if God sends them our way. I mean, Dr. Amy, I'd love to ask you a question. How would you feel if your parents chose to be childless by choice and to not have you?
I obviously would have no idea. I mean...
Okay. Lance, how would you feel if Dr. Amy's parents chose to be childless by choice and you didn't have a wife right now?
Why wouldn't I have a wife?
Well, you wouldn't be married to her.
That's right.
So your argument is that none of us are really unique. None of us really fill a unique gap.
No, that's a straw man. There's billions of people on this planet. I happened to end up with her. I could have ended up with anybody.
So you could have married anyone else besides Amy?
No, I didn't say I could marry anyone else. I said there are billions of people on this planet.
But you just said it didn't matter if she was never born.
No, I'll turn your argument around.
Please.
What if my parents had not moved from Abilene, Texas to Rochester, Minnesota. I would never have met her, so I would be a miserable, unmarried, unhappy man, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
But that's the sum of your argument.
All I know is that, so my wife, she was actually the 6th in her family. And her mother had a stillborn right before her. Had every reason to give up on having children. It was a terrible situation, but they ended up having another baby. And I'm so glad that they didn't stop having children.
Right.
See,
My life would be totally different.
There's a serious flaw in your argument, and that is you can't play the what if game.
Right.
Yes.
Unless you're going to play God.
I think you can. My overall point is that each one of us is unique. Each one of us fills a different role, and the world is better with us in it. And I think it's unfair to really pretend like each one of us doesn't matter. It's a nihilistic mindset. Each one of us is necessary. But if we're gonna pretend like you could have just married anyone else and been happy without ever meeting Amy, fine. That's gonna be an awkward car ride home.
It's not pretend.
Yeah,
It's not pretend.
Well, then that's heartless and
Should
it's
make
cold.
a great movie.
It's absolutely cold. My life, I can't imagine marrying anyone else besides
Well,
my
let me
wife.
ask you something. How do you know that it wasn't God's plan for her to not have children?
I don't, and I look. I don't argue that everyone needs to have children. I think there are plenty of people that contribute to society, that give back to
But
society.
you don't think I'll have a happy life?
I don't.
Your argument.
Your personal happiness is of no concern of mine. Right? I'm just telling you. I don't. No, it doesn't
He
affect me.
takes care of everyone but you.
No,
He
but
cares
it's
about
not,
everyone but you.
But it's not my job to make you happy. My job is to provide for my
thought you
family
said
and make
it
sure that they're
was.
good people.
Yeah, you said you cared about everybody.
You said that having children brought a happiness or a joy.
I think it brings joy to the world. It brings more love to the world. What are you all contributing to the world? I'm contributing 7 kids that are gonna be taxpayers. They're gonna fund your Social Security. They're gonna fund your Medicare.
Hold on a second.
No, but I'm telling you what I'm contributing to the world.
I pay for your children's schools.
Yeah.
Yes, you want uneducated, illiterate children in the world?
No, we're not saying we have a problem with that.
Right. You're saying your kids are going to support us in our old age. I'm saying I'm supporting your kids in their young age.
Yes.
My wife teaches your kids. I work in assessment, and I make sure that your kids get good jobs. So this is just nonsense.
And we're not saying there's anything
Choice is a
wrong with
great
that.
way to make sure that there are a lot of unemployed teachers out there, that there are a lot of unemployed
So we just
pediatricians.
have to keep making more and more people.
No, you have kids
Ad
because you love your
infinitum.
wife.
That's
you have
kind of
kids
what the
'cause you wanna share
mortality of
gift
human
life.
beings means. It means you
Yes.
do have to continue making more people in case this concept isn't clear.
But you made 4, so you got us covered.
Yeah.
You had 7, so you got all of us covered.
Unfortunately, that's what's happening. And you cannot be an autonomous individual who goes into your
Why
elder
do you
years
think
and
we're
says,
autonomous?
I don't need anyone.
We
Why do you think?
contri-
Yeah.
I don't understand.
You will rely on other
Yeah.
people's children to take care of you in a nursing home someday.
No.
That's possibly true. Let me tell
so
you why.
will you.
Let me
so
tell you why.
will you.
My retirement savings will be paying your kids to take care of me in my nursing home.
Okay, and is that a...
We're going to take a break and come back for final comments. Robin and I have been married 48 years in August. We have 2 boys, and they each have 2 children. What do you think about all of this?
Look how precious they are.
That's our oldest son with his wife, Erica. That's Jay and Erica and their 2 children, Avery and London.
I think to make the decision to not have children is not selfish. I think it's a personal decision that everyone has the right to make. My decision to have children was made long before I met you. I'm so blessed that when we did meet, you also wanted to be a father. But I did make that decision when I was very young. I always said I believed I was put on this earth to be a mother. And I never wavered from that decision. And we talked about it. You joke and say I asked you on our first date. I did not. But we came together and we had that conversation that we both wanted to be parents for a lot of reasons. I wanted to use my body to create human life. I didn't care if it was a daughter or a son, but I'm thankful that together we have our 2 sons. And I do believe that Jay and Jordan are the 2 most beautiful gifts we've given each other in our marriage. And now we have our 4 grandchildren. It was a personal decision. It's no one else's business why we decided to come together and have children and raise them. And they're so adorable. I have to say that being grandparents, I believe, is the dessert phase of our life. And so, yes, I'm very thankful that we have our children and we have our grandchildren. And together, we have raised our boys. We've been able to influence them and raise them. And now they're grown men. And we have something that we are very proud of. We are proud of what we've done, what we've created. And that is one of the many payoffs. Something that we can be really proud of, how we've influenced them and helped them become the men they are today.
I agree with everything that Robin says. What I hate in this conversation is trying to project personal feelings onto other people, because I do think we're all called to a certain role. We were called to be parents, and there was no question. It's not really a logic. If you make a decision about being a parent based on logic, who would ever be a parent? Because it's the greatest fear you will ever have in your life. It's the greatest pain you will ever have in your life, along with the greatest joy you will ever have in your life. I mean, having the experience of loving someone else more than you love yourself is something you just can't experience until you're a parent. All of a sudden, there are people in the world you would give your life for and never bat an eye. It's a whole different level of existence. These people that you would absolutely die for. The greatest fear and anxiety I've ever had in my life was over my children. It is the greatest joy in our lives. It's the greatest meaning in our lives. And it's absolutely right for us. We were called to do that, and it felt right when we did, and it feels right now. And we have great relationships with both of our boys. We talk to them every day. We see our grandchildren, and we've been very blessed. They came through the world, and we never had any problem with drugs or alcohol or rebellion or anything. And so, I mean, for us, it's been absolutely wonderful. What you guys choose for you, I'm sure it's what's right for you and what you're called to do. And I hope it's right for you guys. It's what you're called to do. And, God bless you. I hope it's right. But to judge someone else and put it on someone else because it's right for you doesn't mean it's right for you. You're not a lesser person because you don't feel the way about it that I do. Right. And I'm not a lesser person because I feel the way about it I am than you do. It's just different. If people ask me how I feel about being a parent, I felt so strongly about it, I had a vasectomy reversed so we could have another one. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. For me, may not be for you or somebody else. I mean, each to their own. I don't think we should judge one another for one way or the other. I want to thank all my guests for being here tonight. I also want to thank you at home for watching. You are Dr. Phil Primetime Pioneers. I am so thrilled that you found us here on Merritt Street Media. My new book, We've Got Issues, talks about this very thing, actually. There's a lot of research in there about all this. It's how all Americans can stand strong for America's soul and sanity. It's on sale everywhere books are sold, and you've made it the #1 book in America, so thank you for that. Now, you just watched Dr. Phil Primetime, so I know you have Merritt Street saved as your favorite channel and streaming app. While every show on the network is fantastic, there's one show I especially want you to check out. Morning on Merritt Street is hands down the best way to start your day. It's packed with news and entertainment, and most importantly, unique and fascinating ways to improve your life. And it's also a ton of fun. Join Dominique and Fanchon every morning at 8, 7 Central on Mornings on Merritt Street, wherever you watch. And of course, you can always watch for free on Merritt Plus app. Just go to the Apple Store or Google Play and you can download it for free. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Imagine relying on a dozen different software programs to run your business, none of which are connected, and each one more expensive and more complicated than the last. It can be pretty stressful. Now, imagine Odoo. Odoo has all the programs you'll ever need, and they're all connected on one platform. Doesn't Odoo sound amazing? Let Odoo harmonize your business with simple, efficient software that can handle everything for a fraction of the price. Sign up today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.